Welcome back to another fun AP World History lesson. Now we're going to start taking a look at the major trade routes that define the classical and post-classical era. And these trade routes are the Silk Road, the Indian Ocean trades, and the Trans-Saharan trade routes. And the main one we're going to be looking at in this lesson is the Silk Road. Now, the Silk Road will stretch from the Mediterranean Sea all the way to China. It is a land route, and it is traveled by people. And you can see it stopping at major cities along the way, like Baghdad, Palmyra, um, Xi'an, Wuwei. Lots of different cities along the route are established because of this trade route. And although this is one route you see, this might have been the main routes taken, but it wasn't the only route to get across. There are many different passes through the mountains. There are passes that go down to India to bring India into this, so they're not separate from it. But it is a very long and complex trade route. Now you might be wondering, well, how did they travel this route? There weren't trains back then. There weren't roads and cars and planes or anything like that. So what they used were camels, and they created large caravans of camels because camels can survive through these terrible conditions that you're going through. Horses don't work out so well, but camels can last long times without water. And if you look back at this topographical map, you can see they're going to be going through deserts like the Taklamakan Desert. They're going through arid areas in the mountains throughout the modern day Iran and Afghanistan. And so you need a strong animal to do this, and camels are the perfect animals. And along the routes, they're going to stop in monasteries, depending on what faith they are. They might go to a Buddhist monastery. Those were the most famous ones across the route, but there were some minor Christian ones. There were some other uh, stops for local Muslims or for Muslims based on the communities that they're in. But the main one that no matter who you went to were the caravanserai, which were kind of like the Motel Sixes or Hiltons or Carlton, well, maybe not Carlton, Ritz's, but they were the major stops for people. And what they were buildings surrounded with a courtyard, and then in the courtyard you could keep your camels and your goods and stuff, and then you would leave after spending a day there and getting your goods, depending on what the town was, or moving on to the next town to go and pick up new goods. And this whole trade route was actually not really walked by everyone or ridden by or rode by everyone or traveled by everyone. They didn't go the whole distance, so a Roman merchant wouldn't go all the way to China. They wouldn't really actually go much farther than their back door. They might go a few days or a month's journey away and then come back. It was mainly a relay trade, so you'd go from one major city to the next, and then you'd go back to your hometown, or you'd go a couple cities and then back. You didn't go on this huge journey all the way to China, which makes Marco Polo's one of the more interesting interactions on this because he travels the whole route. He wasn't the first to do it, but first major documented story that we have. Then we have the funding for this, which makes all this possible because without money you can't go and buy new goods. And these merchants didn't have money initially, but they worked with creditors, banks. They found new ways to get loans, and they would take that, go buy goods, and then jack up the price on their products back home to make a profit on it so they could pay back these creditors. And we also have the use of paper money coming about in the Tang Dynasty that allows people to carry more cash on hand or more money, unlike what they would have been able to do with coins because of the value of coins and because of their cumbersome, because they're cumbersome. And so the major empires that are involved in this are a few. And it's really, the Silk Road only really flourishes when you have major empires on the east and west side. So when you have the Roman Empire and the Han Dynasty, it flourishes. And then both those kind of collapse, and so it disappears for a little while. And then the Byzantine and the Tangs revive it. Tang's another dynasty in China. And then things kind of fall apart towards the end of that one with the Tang falling. And then the Mongols revive it. And then that'll be the last major revival of the Silk Road. But they bring it back. And then after that, everything kind of focuses more on the sea and the Indian Ocean trade. Now, the major cities on this were Rome is like the furthest end in the west. Then you have other cities like Venice that pick it up once Rome falls. You have Constantinople and Istanbul being the major players in the west, with the capital of the Byzantine and later the Turkish Ottoman Empire. and then you have Baghdad in Iraq, and you have Xi'an all the way in China playing major roles as starting and stopping centers of this trade route. And then what are they trading on it? Well, they're trading luxury goods because those are the only things that you could actually make a profit on through this. So in China, we have silk and porcelain. Silk's a very nice fabric. Porcelain is kind of the expensive china that you might picture people buying for wedding presents and things like that. In Siberia, you trade furs. In India, cotton and spices. Spices are very expensive at this point in time, and but people really want them because it makes food taste a heck of a lot better. In the Middle East, you get dyes and dried fruits, and from the Mediterranean Sea, we're selling gold, glass, and textiles across the trade route. And you might notice a lot of these things aren't really delicate. Silk, furs, cotton, spices, dried fruits, and dyes are pretty easy to transport. While the more expensive things, the more delicate things like porcelain and glass, we don't see a ton of those because it's delicate and it's a rough ride. So you can pack a lot of silk in to your bags and carry a lot of silk compared to as much porcelain. And so that's why this road becomes known as the Silk Road and not the Porcelain Road or the Fur Road or anything like that. Also, silk was the most profitable item. But it wasn't only merchandise that traveled across the routes. Also, ideas spread. Our religions that spread during this time are Mahayana Buddhism is the main one. Christianity spreads a little bit, but then that'll get kind of wiped out by Islam, and then Islam will spread across this trade route as well, even though it's not labeled on this slide here. Technology will also spread. Gunpowder, paper, stirrups will all go west from China. They're all invented in China and will spread west. And then saddles from Central Asia will also spread west and east and will eventually lead to China creating stirrups, and then that all being spread as a package to Europe. And so those will create major changes in how warfare is fought, how things are communicated, and how, again, stirrups and saddles are warfare and just traveling in general. But it's not all good and fun that travels across these routes. Also, major diseases do. And later in this unit, we'll look at the Black Death being spread during the reign of the Mongols over the trade route. But you have other diseases, other plagues that will spread because of the communication and trade between these regions. And so you have a combination of goods, religions, technologies, and diseases being spread across this route, bringing the world together, leading us to the world we live in today.